In Chapter 9, Sun Tzu addresses issues in regards to moral and discipline when the army is on the march. Let's take a closer look at the importance of and means to upholding moral and discipline. Discover the mind of a leader.
It's interesting in the street gang world in Southern California. If you say, yes, I'm with you, the first thing that happens after that is you're assaulted. 3 or 4 of them or more will assault you and beat you down, which is the utilization of violence and fear and discipline, heavy discipline right away as soon as you accept membership. If you say no, the immediate reaction is you're assaulted. So there is no right answer. You're going to get assaulted by these people immediately after that commitment to the gang or non-commitment to the gang. So what the person fears that drives him into the gang is the very thing that's going to happen to him no matter which way he goes. Of course, one is a more friendly beating, and then the other one is designed to really hurt you. So they utilize that bait first, then they set the hook, and they use violence to ensure discipline.
Okay, I think it's important that a leader understands that by leading a team of people, he is serving them, because a leader must understand that if he makes his team look good or behave good or get good results, it's going to reflect on him. You can't do that if you constantly berate a team. I find that doesn't work. What you'll get is a team will get the job done just so you'll stop yelling at them. So I don't think that's good leadership to berate your team players. I think good leadership is to praise what they do well and to point out what they don't do well, and to make them understand that this is something behavioral. Often when a person is not doing well, they're behaving badly. It's not a reflection on who they are at their essence, what their core is. You must never attack a person and say, you are a bad person. There's no such thing as a bad person. I think everyone is born with loads of skills, loads of potential and all that. What they hear throughout their lives is too many negative things. You hear negative things from your school teacher, from your parents. You're always hearing how bad you are and what you do wrong. When I became an adult, I realized that that's really a stupid way to communicate. It's really very, very stupid to berate people. So when I lead a team, I just don't use that tact at all. It just doesn't work. So again, I think number one is that if you get your team to perform well, they're going to look good and you're going to look good. It's positive. That is what I call win-win. And so I think that's the first quality I would certainly ascribe to being a great leader.
You know, power is like walking on the beach and taking a handful of sand. The more you crush your hands, the more sand is leaving your fist, you know. And one should understand that the best and most robust way of surviving as leader, if you like, is to understand what leadership is, which is to engage people at all levels. Be sure that people regard your decisions not only as yours, but also as theirs, and understanding that the language and rhetorics you use at the different levels in your hierarchy and structure, be it in an organization, business, or government, that the art of leadership is to create a frame, an environment where people feel committed and co-owner of the mission. Be clear in your mission, be clear in your direction, and involve people, give them co-ownership in the word's more broad sense then you have a very, very strong leadership. And don't base it on fear, but base it on rights and duties. I have always, since I was a little child, born in a poor city by two parents who didn't have anything else but love to their kid. I have always believed in rights and duties, saying to the people, you count. I make claims to you, but the reason why I make claims to you, reasonable claims, is because you count. You can do something. I believe in you. And creating this sentiment in your team, in your staff, they will go through fire and everything for you.
When I became president of Vingresor at an age of 32, it so happened that I became quite afraid of not being accepted, afraid of not knowing things better than my employees and so forth. I didn't think it was wrong. I actually thought it should have happened much earlier. But when it happened, I became afraid. And we are back to love and fear. As an afraid CEO, I behaved very, very irrational. I started to say, I know, I decide, I. I even got the nickname, the Ego Boy. And it went on for a couple of weeks, and then one day the door was open and the guy came in and said, what the hell are you doing? He said, what do you really think that you became appointed president of this company because we all wanted you to be somebody else than the one you were? Or could you please imagine that you perhaps became appointed president because you were the one you were? And if you understand that, he said, I'm sure you can stay with who you are and not try to play a kind of John Wayne role model who decides everything. And I thought it over and I came to the conclusion nobody wants me to know everything better. The financial CFO, the chief financial officer, he wants to know finance better than me. The one who was responsible for information technology, he wants to know all about this better than me. But they want me to be a good listener. They want me to be a decisive kind of strategic visionary that can point out the way or the direction, but to listen to them, to help them, to coach them. That's what it's all about. When I came to Linjeflyg, I knew that they didn't want to have me because I came. An airline business was much more prestigious than a tour operating business. So I manipulated them by standing on a technical ladder in the hangar and talking to 500 people and saying that I don't know anything about this. The only thing I know is that you're in a crisis situation. And it means that to get out of this crisis situation, you must help me to tell what should be done in this company because that's what you know. I can bring something from the competitive environment in the tour operating business. And together, I'm sure we can make this happen. And just to be a little humble and to ask them, instead of telling what to do, help me to get the acceptance and to make people follow suit to my directions in that company. When I got to SAS, I think I learned the lessons. So now I knew how to behave. And honestly, I listened extremely carefully. I really let people both understand and believe that it was them who told me. And I listened to the market. I did all the kind of, not theoretical researches, but more listening as a real getting their analysis of the situation. And then I turned it back and to give my very clear and very, how to say, very simple actually strategy, being the best airline for the frequent business travelers. And then we used what Porter has taught us. The success of a strategy is not doing a few things right, but to do many things right and to see to it that they all speak the same language. To do many things and see to it that they all speak the same language. In SAS we said we should not be 100% better in one detail. We have to be 1% better in all the 100 details that refers to the interest of the business travelers. And I think I managed to bring to the people a lot of feeling and emotions which made them move. And the service courses that you mentioned is only one of the 100 things that spoke the same language. But the important thing with the service course was not to teach people service. I mean, they all knew what was service, but to tell them that you are important, and what you are going to perform is that important that we take you out for 2 days and we invest in you to be a better service deliverer.
In our staff, it is so clear from day one how we operate in terms of morality or how you treat your talent. I don't think we have to get stricter or less strict. It is apparent from day one, I think, for most people. In terms of young models, if that's what you're talking about, how they operate depends on their age. We have many different age of models. So, of course, when we're dealing with teenagers, we're stricter than when we're dealing with somebody who's in their 20s. When they're in their 20s, really, they're off on their own and living their life. But when they're teenagers, we're responsible for them. And at that point, we're somewhat strict. We're not, but there are guidelines that are set for models who are living in the models department, and we really don't generally have a lot of problems with it.
With respect to discipline, I could give the example of our chief technology officer who, as time goes by, it seems his staff, who like to keep odd hours, keep coming in later and later throughout the day until he'll sometimes find himself 2 in the afternoon and still none of his workers have shown up at the office. And if there's some issue that requires the presence of people, he'll get kind of irritated with that and start barking at people, and then you'll see the tech staff will start rolling in at 9 or 10, and then it'll start to drift from there so then you just kind of repeat the cycle. But we're really not big on discipline, only as needed, which it isn't really needed nearly as often as I think you often see exerted in other workplaces. We find we get by just fine with a minimum of that.
I imagine for some industries a punitive culture works. I mean, I would think in manufacturing where you have to have very strict standards on how things get done. But we're in people business, and people business requires that you treat people with humanity and in a different context. And so for me, not in this business, but perhaps some business, a punitive culture is good. I think in our business, although Jim Collins says in the book, Good to Great, that the very successful leaders and many of the Fortune 500 companies that they researched look for characters and rather look for attributes, in employees that spoke to their humanity and their character rather than all of these other kinds of things, and that in the good to great companies, the things that push them ahead or move them in the direction of excellence was these special attributes and characters of the employees that had nothing to do with the punitive nature or hateful or that kind of thing. Rather, these were very high level, humble, respectful, very humane individuals who were the undergirding of these very successful companies. So I'm not sure even in industry is this punitive culture a good thing.
You know, Sun Tzu was a warrior. He was a general. And you can't have an army of weaklings. You know, strength is a very, very important requirement of any endeavor in human life.
In discovering the mind of a leader, We witnessed various paths to success and found that some of Sun Tzu's thoughts still represent the way we think and act today. It is of utmost importance for leaders to be able to uphold moral and discipline. However, as we have witnessed, the means we apply to do it varies, and no general rules can be laid down.